Some of the recording I will be putting on the YouTube, not all, but if someone is coming in the live class, it will be beneficial for them. Okay. So the very first question is that whenever we talk about the OOPS ABAP in interview, interviewer can ask, this can be one very important question, that we have already the procedural programming, right, where we use the function modules, subroutines, right? So in the procedural programming, what is the issue? What is the problem? Why we have to move towards the object oriented programming? What's the reason we have to move to the object oriented programming? So just do one thing right here in the chat box, what you feel about the procedural programming, like what's your thinking on the procedural programming issue? What's the problem in the procedural programming which we face, and that you know we have to overcome with the help of object oriented programming? So very good. Om is telling maintenance, reusability and security. Good. Some of the points Satya is telling data privacy and security. Okay, very good. So these are some burning issue of the procedural programming, where the data privacy, security, if you have the large project, if a small project is there, then that's fine, that's okay. Maintenance, reusability and security, there we have the function module, right? We create the wrapper function module and all those we can achieve. But when you have the large project, a very big project, where tons of code, thousands codes are written, in that case, this object oriented programming become useful. That's where the object oriented programming comes into demand, and we feel that, oh, something would have been better than this procedural programming, and then we come to the object oriented as a solution. Okay, our architect, our solution architect, our technical architect suggest that, man, don't go for the procedural, you may end up with a mashup in future, right? So object oriented there comes into the picture, and then we start using everything in the object oriented way, right? Everything in this real world is object. So if you consider everything in this real world as object, right? Parents, son, chair, table, car, right? So these all are the objects, real-time objects. So how in real time we are going to solve the problem? If you are going to implement the same concept in object oriented programming, right? If you are going to implement the same concept in the programming language, then that programming language become object oriented programming language. Hope I am making sense over here. So object oriented programming, whenever we tell that object oriented programming, the programming which is oriented towards, which is inclined towards the object is nothing but real-time object. How the real-time object is related with each other, is managed with each other, behaved with each other. In the same way, if we're going to implement our programming, we are going to solve the problem as we solve in the real time, and we can resonate with the real time world. That's where the object oriented programming comes into the picture, and and we start learning OOPS, whether it is a Java, .NET or C++, right? All the powerful language which we have currently is having the object oriented feature, right? Java, very, very effective and very, very powerful language. that is having the powerful object oriented feature. So the concept of the object oriented, if you already know from the Java or .NET or C++, your journey of the object oriented programming in OOPS is also going to be very smooth, because concept almost is going to be same. Somewhere some differentiation is here, but almost maximum is that only. Some concept specific to the program, specific to the language, where SAP realized that it is difficult to implement, for example, multiple inheritance, right? So where the SAP realized that that's fine. If we are not having the multiple inheritance, we can survive with the help of interface. So they didn't focus on multiple inheritance. However, multi-level inheritance we are having in object-oriented programming. So wherever they found that unnecessary concept which is not so much useful, they could have implemented the multiple inheritance, right? ABAP is a powerful language and anything can be done, but they didn't implement the multiple inheritance because this can be achieved easily with the help of interface. So why to, you know, make the programming more complex? So keeping that things in mind, probably this is my assumption, okay, they have not come with the multiple inheritance concept implemented straightforward. Instead, we have the work around in terms of using the interface. So by implementing the interface, we can implement, right, the multiple inheritance. And this is one of the very frequently asked question in the interview. They will tell, is it possible to implement the multiple inheritance in OOPS ABAP? No, not possible. Straightforward. Our answer should be straightforward. It's not possible, but we have a workaround. With the help of interface, we can achieve the multiple, we can achieve the multiple inheritance, right? So that is possible, right? That is possible. So this is what we'll have to, you know, tell. And now let's start with the first question, first official question. Why OOPS? So first, the question will be, what is the drawback? So the first drawback is the security issue, all right? In the procedural programming, we have the security problem, okay? Handling the large project is very tedious with the help of, procedural programming. If a small project we have, procedural programming is good. We can go for the procedural one. But if you have the large project, or if you have any kind of even a small probability that in future this project is going to be bigger and bigger and bigger, go from beginning itself OOPS oriented way. That will be better. Okay, that will be better. Now, all the main features of object oriented are not available in the, right, procedural programming. So what are the main feature of the OOPS ABAP? This can be one question, or another question, why object oriented? This can be also one question, why object oriented? So the answer for the question is, you know, the very first point, object oriented programming gives you the improved security with the help of encapsulation, right? So when you are going to encapsulation means what? In a capsule, we are going to put attributes and methods, events, right? So these are the important part. You are going to encapsulate, you are going to bundle together, and that particular object is known as class, right? That particular artifact is known as class, right? So it provides you the feature of encapsulation, right? And encapsulation we achieve in the object oriented with the help of class, and we can set the visibility at class level, public, protected, and private. So when you have the flexibility to set the visibility on the class, then obviously we're going to achieve the security, right? Hope you understood what I'm trying to tell over here, that when you have the class and if you have the flexibility to set the visibility, right? Visibility is nothing but how you can access, or how you can access your class on what level, on what level, publicly or in protected way or in private way. So if we tell publicly, that means anywhere can be accessed. So if your class is public, that class can be accessed anywhere. If it is protected, only the subclass can access your superclass or that class, right? And if it is private, it can be accessed within the class only, not outside. So encapsulation is one of the powerful feature of the object oriented. Then we have the abstraction, right? Abstraction is what?
Hey,
Hiding the, yeah,
quickly, sorry.
yeah, go
You were
ahead.
talking about encapsulation. We
Mhm.
were talking about the hierarchy, right? That is like a sub class to superclass. And there is, what is the difference when we talk about the classes, the subclass and class relationship, and friend relationship?
Yeah, we'll come
We'll
there.
talk about it later. Okay.
Yes, yes. We
Yeah.
are having so many things. Just I'm giving an overview, so
Mhm.
people will be here able to relate the things which they already know. So
Yeah.
will be,
Yeah.
yeah, everything is there. Okay, everything is there in detail. We are going to see that. So that's the encapsulation. We understood abstraction. What is abstraction? So abstraction over here is nothing but, hiding the method implementation, right? So abstraction you can achieve with the help of interface, you can achieve with the help of abstract class. So you can hide the method implementation, and that's why at runtime you can call the method implementation in a different way, and that's how you can achieve the polymorphism, right? So this abstraction and polymorphism, right? However, these all are related with each other. Inheritance, right? Superclass, subclass, widening cast, narrowing cast, right? So let's try to understand in the simple way. What is the main feature of object oriented? So first, what we have to tell, encapsulation. How to achieve encapsulation? With the help of class, right? Abstraction. What is abstraction? Abstraction is nothing but hiding the method implementation. That means your method will be empty, only the definition will be there, right? You will be having only importing parameter, exporting parameter, and changing parameter. You won't be having any code written inside the method. That's the meaning of abstraction. Inheritance, superclass, subclass, 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 subclass. That's the inheritance, and only the multi-level inheritance is supported by SAP ABAP. Multiple inheritance is not, but we have a workaround using the interface. You can achieve that one. Polymorphism, very powerful feature of the OOPS ABAP. This is the heart, I can say. The power of polymorphism is awesome. It provides the dynamic functionality. One class can be used in a different way. This polymorphism enable the OOPS ABAP to have the different design pattern. There are so many. I have discussed over here around 20 plus design patterns in this course, but there are so many design patterns, and that is possible. One of, this means, however, these all design patterns is the combination of inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, and encapsulation. But this plays a powerful, this polymorphism is a very powerful feature of object oriented. This reduce the code also. Suppose if you have written, you have suppose if you have in procedural programming to write around lakhs of code, but here using the polymorphism feature, that lakhs of code can be reduced up to, the 100 or 1,000 lines of code. Means this is this much powerful. This is very powerful feature of the OOPS ABAP polymorphism. Very, very powerful feature, this polymorphism. Okay. When we talk about the polymorphism, there are two types of polymorphism. Okay. When we talk about the polymorphism, we have two types of polymorphism. Who will tell what are those types of polymorphism? Who will give the answer? What are those
What is
type
interface?
of, yeah, tell me. Yeah, who is telling? You are telling something?
Interface? This is
No,
Om.
overloading and overriding. Okay. There are polymorphism is of two types. Yeah, overloading and overriding. Okay. So two types. We'll see that one in detail. Yeah, overloading and overriding. Modularization, right? So this modularization, that means nothing but the methods, right? In class we have the methods. We can modularize the functionality with the help of method. In procedural programming also we have the modularization technique called function module subroutine. But in large project, because we don't have polymorphism, right, abstraction, inheritance, and encapsulation, we can tell that we have a bit over here in terms of function module, right? Function module is also a kind of encapsulation, right? But we don't have the security feature in function module. You will have to write the authorization object and all you will have to use in order to protect that, right? So that's where it lag behind. Okay. So modularization here in terms of method, in terms of class, right? So modularization we have design pattern. The several design pattern are there in the object oriented programming. Several design patterns are available to make the developers life easier and the coding life cycle easier. So here encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism, modulation, and design pattern. Just right here in the chat box, two feature of the object-oriented program. Everyone, I want you to write, open your chat box right over here, the two feature of the object-oriented programming. It's very important. Write down fast over here. Then I will go ahead to the next question. Very good, Om Prakash. Polymorphism and encapsulation, joining abstraction and polymorphism. Good. Encapsulation and abstraction. Keep on writing, guys. Just we discussed, right? You have to write only two feature. That's it. Write fast over here so that we'll go to the next question. Right? Yeah, Rahul, encapsulation and polymorphism. Ramesh, polymorphism and encapsulation. Right? Good. So polymorphism, encapsulation, inheritance, abstraction, multiple design patterns. These are the main feature which we have over here, right, in the OOPS ABAP. So please remember, in interview, such kind of a small answer will boost up your confidence. Okay. What is the benefit of modularization? There are a lot of benefit, right? Better maintainability, better reusability. And if you have better maintainability and better reusability, you require low workforce, right? And less time you require, and hence the cost is going to be less. That's why the company is preferring the object oriented way over the procedural programming. And that's why the the company is looking for the object oriented programming developer. Means they look for them specifically because their costs are going to be less, right? Good. Now what is the important property? Just we have seen the same thing, encapsulation, right? Data hiding is nothing but the hiding the method implementation, abstraction, inheritance, and polymorphism. So this we have already seen. Okay, so we have seen this, we have seen, and just a second. Okay, so this is fine. Now what is class? So what is class? This can be one VBA question. Okay. So you'll have to give this answer in a smart way. Don't tell simply that it's a group of attributes and methods and events. Okay. If you want to impress your interviewer, try to tell in this way that it's a user defined data type having component in form of attributes, methods, events, right? We have the events. What else? Interfaces, right? You can have the interfaces also. So here in the uh, so you can define the class in this way. All right, you can define the class in this way. What is class? Class is a user defined data type having component in form of attributes, methods, events, interfaces, and they are bundled together, right? In C++, we define class as a user defined data type having component in form of data members and member functions. So there in the C++, methods are known as the member functions and the attributes are known as data members. Okay. In Java, this is known as instance variable and the methods are known as methods only. In ABAP, in class, you have attributes, methods, interfaces, events, and we also have the aliases, right? You can define the aliases also. See, this is how we define the user defined data type, right? Types. But for class, what is the syntax? So if you want to declare your local class, what is the syntax? Syntax is class, the class name, and then definition. So like that, we'll be having the syntax and then end class. We'll see that we'll be having the syntax later. What are the different types of classes in OOPS, right? Who will tell? How many different types of classes in ABAP, OOPS ABAP? We are talking about in OOPS ABAP. What are the different types of classes? So let me see who has given the answer. Jayant is saying global and local class. Very good. Now, what's the T code for the global class? Who will tell the T code for the global class? AC24. Very good. So, freshers, come forward and try to give the answer. Experienced people already know this basic question. So, you have to come forward because for you, it's going to be very frequently asked question. Okay. So, for class and before every day before the interview, give 1 hour yourself to go to the slides and study the slides and remember the answer so that when I will ask over here, you will be able to give the answer and you will be able to remember the concept longer. Okay, so only learning is not the matter, we have to remember it for longer. That is the key, that's the main focus over here to doing all these things. Okay, otherwise could have simply gone through all these slides and by this time I would have completed around 25 slides, right? But that will not make sense. Okay, so we understood what is class and what are the different types of class we have seen for the global class SE24 here, and for the local class where we go and create the local class, where we go and create the local class, right? Where we go and right over here, right in the chat box, where we go and create the local class in program. Very good, Satya. In program, we go and create the local class. Class, some class name, definition, right? Then visibility, create public, create protected. We'll be having the syntax. This is one of the very important question. We are going to look into this question. Okay. What is static and instance attribute? Very, very important question and very, very conceptual question. Okay, very very important and very very conceptual question. What is static and what is instance variable? Okay, who would like to unmute himself and try to give the answer over here? You will be most welcome for giving this answer. I'm going to have the more focus on this answer. question, because this is very important question, very, very important. If you understand the difference between a static and instance, lot of concept is going to be clear. So from the experienced, I
Yeah.
would, yeah, who will try
So,
to give this?
for
Yeah.
static,
Mm.
static are the ones for which we don't need an object to be created. And for instance, like whatever instance attribute methods, whenever we want to access them, we need an object for it.
Okay, so here my question is very specific.
Instance,
Yeah, so here my
instance is
question is
only
very specific towards attribute only. Okay, we are not talking about the instance method or static method, we are talking about the attribute, right? Attribute. So what is static and instance attribute? Raise your hand, I will unmute yourself. First raise your hand.
Uh,
Yeah, fine.
Pankaj,
Yes, yes, go ahead.
instance attribute, you
Mm.
need the object to be instantiated. For static, you don't.
Okay, my another question, can you access the instance attribute with the help of class name directly? Just give some questions, answer
No,
in yes or no.
No,
Good,
instance attribute
no.
cannot be executed by the class.
very good. Can you access the static attribute with the help of instance object?
Yes,
Yes, right? So if you have the static attribute, you can access both way with the help of class as well as with the help of object. Whereas, whereas instance attribute can be accessed with the help of object only. So remember, this is the difference. Okay, the difference, remember, you can tell this the difference. Let me note down this difference. So here static attribute, and here I'm going to have the instance attribute. So a static attribute can be accessed through, so accessed through class name and object instance, right? Whereas instance attribute can be accessed only through the object instance. Okay, object. So this can be instance attribute can be accessed only through the object, right? Only through the object. This is one difference with respect to access. Another, the technical difference, actual difference. Tell me the actual difference in terms of, you know, memory. With respect to memory, who will tell the difference with respect to memory allocation? Who will tell the difference?
uh, static attribute are throughout the class available. It is if we change in one place, it will be available in all the instances. But instances attribute are specific to that instance only.
Good, very good, very good. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So a static attribute is, it is a specific, it is a specific to class and always points to same memory location, same memory location. So it is specific to class and always points to same memory location. Means it is having the unique memory location. One memory location is allocated, that means that is only, right? Whereas if you have the instance attribute, for all the instance attribute of a class, we have the separate different memory allocation, right? What I mean to say that, if we are going to suppose we have, this is a class, cl underscore abc. Let's suppose this is a class, and this class can have the different object, right? Let's suppose this class is having the different object called ob1, and let's suppose one more and one more, three object it is having, ob2 and ob3. So this is instantiation of this class. So three different instantiation of this particular class we have over here, ob1, ob2 and ob3. Now all these three object is having its own memory space in the memory, right? So this ob1 will be having, let's suppose, 1000 memory location, which is pointed by ob1, and this can have the 2000 and this can have the 3000. Different, you can see that it is, stored at, it is created at different memory location, right? So if it is different memory location, suppose here object 1 is having the value 4 and object 2 is having the value 5, and here object 3 is having the value 6, then what will happen that, you know then what will happen that when you want to access the ob1 value, right? When you will have to access the ob1 value, it will give you the 4. So if you try to print over here, right, ob1, okay, if you try to write ob2, right, if you try to write ob3, try to understand the concept, don't go for the syntax, right? You'll have to give the syntax, column selector, hyphen and arrow. So don't go towards that, just try to understand the concept, what I'm trying to tell it over here. Write ob1, write ob2, write ob3, it's going to give you the answer over here, 4, 5 and 6, right? Why? Because this is the object instance, this is the different object. So when I tell object instance, that means object instance or object or instance, these all are same thing. So whenever I tell object instance or object or instance, you have to consider, you have to understand object only, okay? These all are different terminology, but meaning is same. Here, if you have the static attribute, so let's suppose I have created one static. So in this class, I have created three different instance attribute. Okay, I have created these three different instance attribute. These are the instance attribute of this class. So these are actually, here I did one thing wrong. Sorry for that. I was talking about the object, I'm talking about, the instance attribute. So at this class level, when we go to AC24, inside the attribute, we'll be having the option over there to define the attribute as an instance and static. So if these attributes are defined as an instance attribute, these are attribute, okay? These are the attribute. So if these attributes are defined as a attributes, and if you want to access this attribute with the help of object, so attribute can be, accessed with the help of object. So then it's going to give you the different value for different attributes. But suppose if you have a static attribute, so this is, let's change this name differently, okay? So first, this is the instance attribute, so I'm going to give, instance attribute 1, instance attribute 2, and here instance attribute 3, okay? And object of this class, let us suppose I have created one object of this class. That name is OB1, let us suppose. So OB1, if I am trying to access the value of instance attribute 1, right, it will print 4. If I will access the value of instance attribute 2 with the same object 1. So here we are having object 1 and IA2 instance attribute 2. So instance attribute 2, what it will get printed? It will get printed 5 over here. And here you have instance attribute 3. What it will print? It will print 6 over here, right? Now let us suppose you created one more object of this class. You created one more object of this class, and let us suppose that object is OB2. Let us suppose that object is OB2, and for the OB2 object, right? For the OB2 object, the so this is for the, let me do one thing. This is for the object 1. This is for the object 1. Now you created one more object called OB2 here, let's suppose. So when you are going to create the object 2, what will happen? And when you have the different instance over here, instance attribute 1, instance attribute 2, instance attribute 3, right? So you, so for object 2, the instance attribute 1 is having the different memory location. So this can have the memory location like 1100. For this can have the 1200, and this can have the 1300. So like that you can have the you know address. Like that you can have the address 1100. So the different when you are going to create the different object, this instance attribute is going to be associated with this is going to be associated with this, and this is going to be associated with this at the different memory location. So all the instance of a particular object is having its own memory location. But now let us suppose this is not an instance attribute. This is a static attribute. The third one, the third attribute, let us suppose it's a static attribute. So what will happen that when you will create the object of this class, right? So when you define the static attribute of this class, at that point of time itself, suppose if it is created at 3000 address, right? Then what will happen when you are going to create the object 1 and object 2 of this class? For all the object, the memory location, it's going to be same. So 3000 for object 2 also, this static attribute will be there at one place only. For object 1 also, it will be there only 3000 only. For object 3 also, it is going to be there on 3000 only. For object 4 also, it is going to be there. So for all the object, for all the object, for all the object, for all the object, in case of a static attribute, it's going to point at the same memory location. So this will be also 300 only. So same everywhere, 300, 300, 300. But in case of instance attribute, see, when your object is going to change, the address will be also changed. So for object 1, address is 1000, right? For object 2, here for instance attribute, address is 1100, right? Here for instance attribute 2000 in case of object 1, and in case of object 2 you have the 1200, right? For object 3 it will be a different memory location. It can be 40,000 or 30, different than whatever the memory location already used. Other than this, it will be object 3. But a static attribute is going to have the same address. It is going to point the same address. Now Based upon this concept, I'm going to ask few questions over here. Just give the answer. Okay. So suppose in your program, you have written the code like this. So interviewer can ask the question like this. OB1, IA1, instance attribute 1. Here you have assigned the value 4. OB1, instance attribute 2. Here you have given the value 5. OB1, instance at this is the static attribute now. ISA, static attribute SA. SA3 I have given. This value is 10. OB1, OB1, I here give OB2. OB2, IA1 equals to, let's suppose, 1000, and OB2, a static attribute 3 equals to 9999. Now I'm printing over here, right? OB1, IA1, and I'm writing OB2. Let's suppose I'm writing over here, yeah, OB2, IA2, and OB1, SA3. This is my, right statement. I want you to write your answer right here in the chat box. Your answer, I will, you know, tell you the correct answer, what will be its correct answer, and you can just match up. So first write your answer, and then I will tell you what is the correct answer. So Vishal is telling 459999. Okay. So object one, this is perfect. So Vishal answer over here is 100% correct. Okay. So here everyone is having the correct answer over here, but Satya, why like this? Yeah, Satya, can you give your final answer? Yeah, 4 5.
That's 45999.
Yes, not 999, 4 times 9, right?
Oh, that's
Actually,
Yeah.
actually Pankaj, and for
Mhm.
OV2, IA2 is not available. I think that is confusing someone.
yes, yes,
It is
yes.
IA1 only.
Actually,
OB2. So here we have OB2 and IA2. OB2, okay, OB2, IA2 here. Okay, here I have not given. So if something is not initialized, either it will be blank or it will be 0, right? Because, or maybe let me make it clear. It's not a, so I will write here OB2 and then IA2 equals to 2000. Okay. So, so here in object instance, right here you can see that this is the instance attribute. So for the instance attribute, you can realize over here whatever the value here it is, simply you'll have to go and put. Okay. But for the static attribute, okay, for the static attribute, you will have to take the latest value. So you can see for OB1 here it is 10 SA3, but for the OB2 is this static attribute. See here, a static attribute we are going to access with the help of this object, right? And when I'm accessing with the help of this object, this is going to point the same memory location because it's a static attribute now, right? Because it's a static attribute, and because it's a static attribute, though the object is different, but the attribute is a static, means is sthir. Okay, means it is going to point the same memory location, though the object is different, but it is pointing to the same memory location. So when I'm updating the content, it's going to update the content of the same memory location, and that's why its content will be updated from 10 to 9999. Okay, so This point you will have to understand. When you have the static attribute, the latest value will be overwritten on that particular memory location, and whatever the object does not matter, it's going to give you the latest attribute. In instance attribute, okay, so here let's suppose if you have the instance attribute obt, right, ia1 equals to 3000. So see here, obt ia1 equal to 1000 over here, and same obt ia1, if you just observe here, if you just observe here, right, what will be so suppose now I'm going to print this ob1 ia1, what will be its answer? Answer will be 30,000, right? Because sorry, ob2 ia1. Oh, here there is no right statement for ob2 i1, ob2 ia1, right? So ob2 ia1, this I want to print. So you can see that for this ob2 i1, this is the latest value, but this ob2 is the same, obt2 is the same. For the same object, it will take the latest value for the instance object, right? But for the but in case of a static attribute, it will take the latest value of any object, not to the specific object. So in case of instance object, right, in case of instance object, it is going to consider the specific object only, right? But in case of a static attribute, it's going to consider globally, right? So ob2 here, sorry, here ob1 here and ob2 over here does not matter. This is part of the same class, right? cl underscore abc, same class it is part of, so it will just override. Hope a little bit clear. If you don't understand, let me know. You know, I will try to explain once again over here, because this is very important interview question, and many people get confused. That's why I'm putting more focus over here. So if it is clear, just write here in the chat box clear. Otherwise, I will explain once again one more time. This is very important. Right over here, if it is clear. Good, very good. So now we understood the concept of static and instance attribute. Very important, very useful, and we also use a lot in our real-time development, right? Now, what is object? So object is nothing but the instantiation of the class. Okay, what is object? So object, your question will be something like that. What is object? So object is nothing but the instantiation of the class. So the question will be, what is object? So this is the question, and question is object is nothing but it's an instantiation of the class. How to create an object? So two-step process: reference the class and then the create the object. So first we'll have to give a address, give a name for that object, what it is going to be, and then you will have to allocate the object in the memory. So giving the name to the address is known as reference. Reference is nothing but naming the address where your object will sit, right? Naming the address in memory. Whenever I tell the address, that means address in memory. Naming the address in memory where your object will sit. So first we will give some name, and once you will decide that this will be a name, then we will be having we are having the syntax called create object. It will create the object over there with reference of particular class. So it will take the same shape and same attributes, methods based upon the uh, attributes and methods you have declared. So create the object. So two-step process. One is referencing and another is instantiating. So uh, when you want to create the object, one, first you have to reference the class and then you will have to create the object. This is also known as instantiation. So syntax for this one is data lo, let's suppose geo is my class. So syntax for this one and data geo underscore object one type ref2, type ref2 cl underscore abc is my, let's suppose, class name. So this is known as, referencing. So we are giving the name of the object over here, and once you have decided what name you have to give, then create the instance of that class. So create object, create object geo underscore obj1. So this is how you will have to do. Okay, very good. So now you understood this concept, and let's go here. This is for what I have written. Okay, I think I have written over here that it does not support the multiple inheritance. Okay, we have already discussed. Let me write it over here in bold color, so we will be able to remember longer. So the OOPS ABAP doesn't support the multiple inheritance. Okay, OOPS ABAP does not support the multiple inheritance. See, so this class B is there, this class D is inheriting from class B, that is fine, but at the same time this class B cannot inherit the class A and cannot inherit the class C at the same level, right? However, it this is possible, like this possible. Okay, like this possible, multi-level is possible, multiple is not possible. Okay, OOPS ABAP does not support the multiple inheritance, multi-level is supported. Okay, fine.
Pankaj,
Mhm.
it's kind of off topic. Is it in any other languages like Java or C++ or somewhere? Is it possible to do this multiple inheritance?
In Java, C++, .NET, multiple inheritance is the inbuilt feature.
Oh, so same object can be inherited by multiple
Right,
classes?
right. Same class can be, means three or four class at the same time you can inherit. Okay, from the
Okay.
same level. Yeah, just from immediate level you can inherit the same class. Another question: what is super keyword? Very important. Okay, and our time is now 8:30. With this question, we'll stop the session. Today there will be no interview. Tomorrow we'll be having the interview. Get ready for the interview. Okay, and prepare well so that you can take the interview, you can give the interview effectively. These are the basic content, and these are the only important concept. Okay, later we'll go very fast. Maximum I think 10 class. In 10 class I'm going to cover. I'm not going to discuss the design pattern all, some few design patterns which is important over here.
Is a classic as reward where no problems to back in your code.
Okay, so uh, here, yeah, fine. So I was talking about maximum will be having like 10 to 15 class, and there we'll try to wrap up this object oriented. We'll be discussing, and fine. Then I think it's okay for super. I was discussing about the super. Meanwhile, someone unmuted himself, and some noise was coming, so I got disturbed. See, so I get very easily distracted. That's why, I request to the people, if you're not speaking, please mute from your side. But okay, so what is the super keyword, right? What is the super keyword? So super keyword is nothing but it will just referencing to your immediate super class. Okay, so if you are here, right, if you are here in the subclass, let's suppose this is your super class vehicle, and if it is here ZCL car is your subclass, and here if you want to access the attribute of this super class, you can use the super keyword. So you can give the answer like, to access the immediate parent class, to access the immediate parent class, we can use the super keyword. So give the answer like this: super keyword, it is used to access the immediate parent class. Okay, you'll have to give this answer. With this, let's stop our session over here, and if you want to discuss anything else, feel free to discuss over here, or you can, leave. Tomorrow you'll have the interview. Get ready for interview. Be prepared mentally, physically for the interview. You'll have to take the interview as usual, and you'll have to give the interview as usual. So please be participative in interview. It will increase your confidence, right, and your skill. So with that, I'm going to wrap up of the today's session, and if you have any question, feel free to ask over here. And for getting the slides, what you will have to do, that you have to do something. I'm not going to give these slides for free. You'll have to go to my LinkedIn profile, right, and there you'll have to write some review for me. It is important, very important for free. I'm telling since so many days to the people over here that please go and do some review. Some of the people you have already done for me, right? So thank you so much. I'm going to share with them, but the one who has not shared, what you will have to do, I'm going to share the uh, Google Words, right, Google Forms in fact, and there you have to, give your email ID. Once you give the review, after that please give the email ID, and then I will be sharing these slides. If you are really looking for these slides, you will have to do things for me, otherwise I'm not going to share this PPT. So this is from my side, and I believe that I deserve for this review, and please do it and share your email ID in the form, and then I'm going to share these slides individually on the email. Okay, so fine with this. If you have any question, please let me know. Okay, then bye bye, take care, have a nice day.